let's say thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's 8 something in the evening, and it's funny to have someone in Australia who's just starting there tomorrow. So I really enjoyed listening to you, Carrie. Well done. I thought that was tremendous. I always think it's interesting to kind of reflect as I get introduced. I think, how did we do that? And I think it's a really good thing to share that I had no idea what my journey was going to be, and that I would sit here today saying that I have a kind of track record in investment. I have a very happy family. I have 3 beautiful girls. I hope going to follow their paths to happiness. I had no idea what mine was going to be. And I think, you know, when I reflect on how large life can be, and I'm 54 today. So before you charge into the chat box and say how lovely I am, I know I look like hell warmed up because it's been a long day. But actually, I'll share with you very briefly kind of the journey that you can perhaps take away some, this is really important, a habit of actionable outcomes, improvements that you can apply. So I hope you're there with your pen or your phone and you're about to scribble everything that you need to scribble, because I hope I can give you some small gems, which, by the way, very candidly, I have mostly learned from other people far brighter, far more educated, far more competent than I will ever be. So I'm going to cover some ground rules about how, I guess I was lucky. I had an older brother and mum and dad who said you can be anything you want to be. But in my life, I've then come across too many women that have a fear factor that holds them back, or an imposter syndrome. I didn't even know what that meant. And we talk about a glass ceiling. Well, there's no guy who could have invented a glass ceiling because they're not smart enough. They don't have that language. So I think I'm just going to lay some ground rules and say, you can be, like Carrie said, anything you choose to be. You can have ambition, and you should be proud of that ambition. And you can have competency, and you can have, and I'd like to say everything, but the truth is you'll never have everything in one go. It's a life of a seesaw. So I always say this to female audiences, which is, on the day that I am fat and ugly, menopausal and overweight, my business is flying, the products are selling, and my children don't know my name. On the days when my children knew my name, I'm miserable, and my business isn't flying, and I wasn't very happy, and I hadn't got my balance right. And as for my husband, where was he? But actually what I'm joking about is, it is this seesaw, and you have to choose the wins and the losses. And whether you're going to, I don't know, go to a nativity play and get to see Mary, who knows? But what I'm saying is that it is down to you. And so I live by the word of choice. I have a book which is titled More Balls Than Most, because I'm actually poking a stick at the fact that we don't need to have balls, and we can just be who we wish to be. But if we're honest and open and we're full of enthusiasm and energy, and clearly I had to be all of those things because I knew nothing at the age of 23, then you can go from having no business degree and no education to reading that in books and learning. So I guess another takeaway is, leave the fear behind and always look forward and learn. And I'm going to try and do this in some kind of order as we go towards, and at what point might you consider leaving the building, as in exit. So I think there are some key skills, and I think women are particularly bad at trusting. And I'm not quite sure, it may be because I'm the idiot in the room, but I kind of believe that I am so secondary to everything that I do, that if I can trust others, and I go with my gut feeling about how I want to bring people on board, and don't get me wrong, I put them through a rigorous recruitment thing, and I've now got an unbelievable kind of hit rate, but it's not perfect. And what I would say is that if you can't learn to trust, you will never scale a sizable business. I mean, Pacific Direct, my first company, sold miniature hotel toiletries in 110 countries. We had factories in China and the Czech Republic. We had a joint venture in Egypt. And we had amazing luxury customers, Four Seasons. But the truth is we were soap salespeople that sold it with passion, and soap and shampoo and shower gel. And then we thought we can make money out of pens, and customers would say, oh my God, you're doing a great job. And the fact of the matter is that brilliance in customer service, where you are passionate, enthusiastic, and honest. And if you meet a problem, and whether the problem is actually one of your own making, it is your business, own the problem, blame no one, start with the word sorry. And everybody knows mistakes and stuff happens. I mean, goodness knows, more than ever with freight pricing and ingredients run out and factories shut down. Have you got the gumption to admit when you're wrong? And have you got the bravery to stand your course when you're right, irrespective of the naysayers? Because you are going to need gumption, resilience, whatever you want to call it. So trust your people, but also you have a choice. You have a choice to be overwhelmed, or you, like Carrie, have a choice to be really organized. And within the organization, you've got to have a team that is going to allow you to delegate to success. Because without delegation, you will not grow. You can't do it all. Doesn't matter, even if it's a small online business. There are days when we have 6 children, we need to switch off. I mean, the scale and the opportunity of what you grow is entirely up to you. I have chosen to build big businesses. I back brands. I'm very proud of the brands that we back, and I do believe that you have to build purpose and sustainability in. You know, it might take you time. I'm just grabbing one of the scented balms, and it took us years, but we can now refill a product. I'm so proud of that. I want to show it to you. And I want to show it to you because actually it's not going to be today what the business is tomorrow, because you're in a competitive marketplace. So you are going to have to move, and the market's going to move, and it is a race. And the reason I'm doing this with just scented in the background is because I want you to visualize being in a Formula One race, because everybody can visualize motor racing. Everybody can visualize this team of people changing tires, cleaning windscreens, filling petrol, and doing it in less than 2 seconds. But in 1950, we changed 4 wheels on an automobile in a car with 3 blokes and a spanner, and it took ages. And so that is about the sum of small gains. So as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I can't list everything I've learned, but I can hopefully share with you the trust, the delegation, the importance of letting go, the belief in yourself. But the 1 or 2 things actually that I think you simply cannot let go of is that relationship with understanding and hearing what the customer's telling you, and your finances. You cannot abdicate the responsibility of where the cash is. You must know how you're going to pay your bills. And in my world, my mental burden was, could I pay the mortgages, the salaries? Could I pay the cost of living for my team of staff? Because I would never not consider that before I took the next step. And you may call that risk and return, but I had a certain amount of absolute integrity that said I couldn't stretch this thing to the point where I was taking unnecessary risks. And I think women are far better at that and perhaps should take more risks than we naturally do. But I do tell you that I think that you sleep better at night when you have control, and you only have control when you know your finances. I think another thing that's absolutely critical and vital is your culture and the expectations that you set. And actually, I thought it was really interesting because I do life planning and I do family planning, and I get my kids to vision board, and I get my team to do it. I talk about a balanced chart, but I invest in the time to plan today. But when I was young, I didn't plan, and we could have been growing faster, more intelligently, with clearer focus. And by the way, focus is something that makes you money, right? Stop being distracted, decide on what your path is, what is the unique proposition, and stick to it. You know, you cannot be all things to all men and grow a great brand. You have to try, and actually you'll become, you know, more successful. So, I mean, actually I will use this as an example, but a hard balm that is completely transportable came because I traveled 221 nights a year selling to hotels, and you apply this to your pulse points. My point is, this is original. This is not oily aromatherapy. It's not greasy. But unless we had a niche portable proposition that was a absolutely impactful thing, there's no way we were going to launch it. We couldn't build a brand around it. So what's your USP? What is your unique proposition, the service promise, the intent by which you bag your product, you sell your product? And by the way, Before you spend any money, prove that you can sell this thing, and don't bother asking the family if they like it. Your family are going to lie to you. They do love you, but they can't help themselves that they're going to tell you it's a good idea. You need strangers to tell you it's a great idea, that it works, that it changes their lives. I went to a yoga show this weekend because I wanted to hear my customer. I wanted to hear what they were telling me. Are they coming back? Why are they buying again? I also wanted to sell them yoga mats, but that's another story. So have you a product niche, right? Are you building a product niche, and have you decided to keep learning and keep evolving? And are you surrounded by people that are going to support that vision? Because if you're not, you need to dispatch the naysayers, those people that pull you back, because you are going to make mistakes and you're going to need to brush yourself off and go, sorry, let's move on. But if you don't lead by example, and you don't turn right on airplanes, and you don't travel in economy, please, please don't think you're leading by example, because those things count. And you can build a culture, and you can build trust, and you can build people that will follow you to the end of the earth if you build a great culture. I have people working for me today that had no idea how talented they were, and they have grown and they have learned. And I've been with some of them for 25 years. And actually, I would say that's my greatest pride, the people I love working with and working for today. And I work for my people. Do you work for your people? Because they don't work for you, right? That's how I see it. Map, plan, process map, and know the strategy of your sell. How do you sell? What are the audiences you need to focus on, and what do you know about them? Do you know their persona? Have you done your digital AI? Are you really conscious of what SEO works? Are you linguistically growing so that you can beat others on the Amazon marketplace or on Walmart or on eBay or whatever it is? You need to be savvy, like Carrie said again, about the language, but you also need to put it down on paper, and then you need to become a preacher. If I come into your office and I say to a member of your staff, what is the objective of this business? What is the niche proposition? What is your unique selling point? Can they tell me? Do they really know what direction you're going in? What's the USP? What's the point of difference? What makes them proud to get up in the morning? Those things matter. So how to grow and how to accelerate. There's online and there's offline. And actually, one of the best books I've read recently is How to Maximize Amazon Value or something like that. And I just Google this stuff. I go, there's got to be a book on that. And I Google how to maximize Amazon sales. And I read it, and I actually gave it to my Amazon agency and said, you're not doing all of this stuff. And I learned and I questioned, and I keep questioning in a healthy way, but I share. So I've built my first business, which made just short of 40 million US dollars. I was 99% shareholder by reading books in a bookshop called WH Smith's. Can you do the same? Can you teach yourself? Because now you've even got the web. I mean, I'm that old that you couldn't Google it, right? And now I don't need to buy the book. I actually quite often do. I think it's very powerful. But I think fundamentally, the other bit about learning is that you need to learn to respect the skills of others. So I am rubbish at finance. I am rubbish at box filling. I loathe some of the detail stuff. I like selling. Are you personally aware of what your skills are? And if I said to you now, map on a piece of paper, how many hours of today and yesterday and the day before have you spent doing what you are best at to grow your business? Because if you're not applying your skills to the best of your ability, and you're a meddling, interfering, artisanal entrepreneur, you will not grow. You have to be a bit strategic. I think you all need to know how to sell your product in some shape or form. And I think you've got to also depend on the others and the teamwork. So for goodness sakes, learn to beg great people to join your business, because then it gets really fun, because you're learning from the great people that you're surrounding yourself with. I've been really lucky to have some great people. Retain your humility. However big and however good it gets, always put back into enterprise. Be humble about the young people that you want to inspire, because guess what? Like my children who drive me nuts, they're going to teach you loads. They're going to teach you Instagram and how to put a reel out, and they're going to teach you the right language, and they're going to translate stuff that I can't even read. And without them, I'm toast and I'm not having as much fun. Okay, so think about that. And then let me talk about your gut. Somewhere, ladies and gentlemen, there's something built in that says it's the right way and the wrong way. The question is, are you listening with 2 ears? Because when you go against your gut, it will cost you dearly. And it doesn't matter what anyone says, not the banker, not the lawyer, not the accountant, not the advisor, not the board member. If you feel you can do it and you know your business really well, go with your gut. But also combine it with a dose and a salt and pepper of data. Data shouldn't lead everything because it isn't always the solution. But today, when we have volume of data, use it to your max to understand your consumer and use it to see what's happening operationally. Here's a really simple way of building your business. If you're doing a product company, find one more product to sell to the same customer. We worked out we had an average order of 6 cartons a month: shampoo, shower gel, conditioner, lotion, soap, and amenities. If we sold one more carton a month, we made substantially more profit. So we sold sanitary bags, and then we sold toothbrush and toothpaste and shaving kit, and then we sold pens, and then frankly, we sold anything that you couldn't nick and take from a TV, from a hotel room, and we didn't sell TVs, but we borderline. So back to my Formula One. How often do you review the operating procedure of your business? How often do you ask your staff how to go faster? Because the little guy that changes the tires, who's got great big muscles, he's been chosen for his role because he's really good at, and he can move his tire quickly. What impediments, like a slow laptop, dodgy technology, the wrong platform, what impediments are you not investing in that stops your staff going faster in the direction you all agree to go in? It's really important, really, really important. Have goals. And don't be wet and unprofessional about talking about goals. Don't be light-hearted about the importance of achieving targets. Life is a grown-up place. And if the grown-ups don't want to be on board with a target, they're in the wrong job. Salespeople need to have targets. We need to grow and we need to learn. We need to get better. We need competition. You can't fanny around the edges if you want to be successful. So I hope you'll give that real thought. Now, I wonder how many hours a day your business is selling. How many hours and how many people are spending time selling every day? It's really important. How many times is the Formula One car practicing to change its tires, or working on its fitness, or sorting out the clothing it's wearing so it's not restricted and the human being can move faster in the pit? How many times are we looking at engineering a better way? That's why I want you to think of Formula One. And who's helping you? Who's helping video the car changing? Who's helping you check out, how do we row this thing and make this boat go faster? Who's looking out ahead? Because Carrie's advice about advisors is really solid. But you're also going to need the resilience, because sometimes you grow out of those advisors and you have to have a gut feel that says, have I grown out of a partner or a member of staff? Do I need to inject new energy? Have I, frankly, sucked all the ideas and the competency out of a marketing director or a designer? Do I need a fresh look? Am I getting best in class for the modern day? Every thinking about your people and your professionalism, you need to be aiming for A-grade players, like Jim Collins said. And if you haven't read Good to Great, you need to read it. Sometimes it's good to have a break, step back from your business and be on the business, right? So actually something I learned from someone else is I take 3 days of a year and I treat myself. It's the only time I stay in a really cool hotel. And I look at my business and I look from the ground up. So at the moment I'm looking at, what am I paying my people? I'm going through every financial line of the business. And do I think I'm getting value? And if I'm not getting value, I need to have interesting conversations and then sometimes difficult conversations. And by the way, You own the shares because you have to have the difficult conversations. So man up or woman up. I don't care what you do, but you need to have those conversations. And you can't, the longer you delay, the more damaged you are creating for your opportunity looking ahead. So take a deep breath, perhaps had a swig of gin, and then go soberly to have a grown-up conversation. I have never had an honest, open conversation with a member of staff that I need to move on, move aside, move up, or move down that has gone wrong, because I'm always open and honest. And if we treat people like adults, they would prefer it. What is more is when you're working on your business, your staff know you're working on the business, and they will pull you along and support you. But you must communicate change. You must become the preacher of change. You must become the preacher of the culture, and you must lead by example. Tolerance is one thing, but precedence is a very important other thing when you're growing a business. If a member of staff gets pregnant, what is the precedence? Are you going to pay them full salary for 9 months? Are you going to pay them government rate? Are they going to get 9 months? Do you have to keep the job open? What's the law of the land? Maternity can be devastating, but it doesn't mean it's not manageable, right? We have to do the planning around buffering people, sharing the workload. Good culture will get you through any times, good, bad, and indifferent. You need to be aware of the mood of your company. You need to know how your people are feeling. I know that my EA, my executive assistant, has just done so much for me, and she's doing a job she doesn't want to be doing, but the market's tough. And she's been unbelievably gracious, and I will pay her back. And you need to pay your people back, sometimes giving them a break. So think about the early skills you need, think about growing out of them, do the numbers, and think about how you plan your day. When are you at your best? I'm at my best at 6 a.m. I get 2 to 3 hours work done, and then I go and do yoga, and then I have a shower, and then I go again and I start the calls. And I absolutely love my day. Balance, think about your exit. To maximize exit, you need to think 2 to 3 years out. You need to know your finances like the back of your hand and the front. You need to have a growth strategy that says the new buyer is going to get their money back. You may or may not know the options of who your buyer is, but you will know the kind of sectors where you can add value by joining and aligning to another company, or a skill set that somebody's going to require to grow your business. Once you decide to go into exit, go into it professionally, but maintain growth. If you don't maintain growth, you'll be devalued in the market as you exit. You can't change the rate of sale and then expect the buyer to pay for the apple that's going off. It's that simple. It's practical. You need leadership continuity. If you're leaving the business, think about who's going to run the show without you. Can it be done? Have you got a proven track record? Did you do it when you were last pregnant? Do you need to make yourself redundant so that you can leave the building? Or actually, do you want to stay in the business and grow it to another phase, but take less of the pressure, take some money off the table? I think if I was to suggest anything, look at all your exit options. Don't just think of one exit option. There are lots of ways of exiting a business: fast, slow, medium. Write the process. Process adds value. Get your filing system organized. Take the skeletons out of the closet, and think about how you act and behave in the market, because ultimately you are selling your baby, and it's the hardest thing in the world. It takes a long time to sell your baby, or it takes a lot of emotional turmoil. So don't decide to go into it faint-hearted. I think that pretty much covers the few minutes that I've got. And Manuela, I don't know if that suits you to maybe do some of the Q&A. I hope people have got questions, and I hope that was useful to people.
Lara, I hope you can hear me okay. That was certainly very, very useful. My apologies. I'm calling from a conference center in Las Vegas, having been kicked out of my room just now. So I've run downstairs. That was actually super inspirational. I saw it a few times, people calling it a super instructive talk, so many great tips, people saying this is so good. Truly, that was inspirational. There's a couple of comments. I tried to summarize as many things as I could as I got out of that, and there was a lot. So delegating, Get strangers to tell you that it's a good idea versus your friends and family. Map, plan, and process map. Gut with a dose of data. That's the salt and pepper. I think I loved that one the most. Sell one more thing to your customer. Love that. How often do you tell your staff to go faster? How many hours a day is your entity selling? There's just so much there. A quick few questions from me, if that's okay. Delegation. Some people find this really difficult, right? They either hang on too tight, or sometimes actually not necessarily their fault. Maybe they don't have the talent around them. Maybe they're a sole trader or single employee organization. What is your philosophy with delegation, and how did you approach that in the beginning versus what you now might do a bit later on in your career?
So at the beginning, I didn't even know what the word meant, like strategy and like many other business words. And we learn a language in business. We don't even know that we're learning it, but we have to. And the answer is that I kind of have a sort of mantra, which is, if I want to see my people grow and flourish, I delegate stuff that I believe they can do. They may not believe they can do, but I will give them the tools and the freedom to have a go. And I fully accept they may do it a different way. And I'm really interested, and I show the interest and the support to see the way they do it. And we set, in the early days, kind of stage gates towards success, so we can do feedback. And then I just, frankly, we learn, we grow, and then they go. You know, so I think it's a genuine determination to train and educate. And I think I've got a management trainee at the moment, and you know, we meet regularly, and gradually I give him hideous projects, which I know he loves, because he's a finance guy and I hate them. And actually, I'm quite childish. Sometimes I like to surprise him because maybe I do know a little bit more, but I also like him to surprise himself at how well he can do. So I make sure that there are achievable stage gates. And I think with delegation, you've got to have an agreeable time scale, because you've got to consider that someone's probably feeling a bit anxious. They want to know what the end goal is, and you want to give them parameters. But actually, I think if you give them freedom, and actually, Blake, honestly, I think women are really bad at this because they're rubbish at letting go. And I probably am such a scatty hooligan that I'm better than most at letting go, because I also know that most people do stuff better than I do. And I think if you have that mindset, it's very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with that. Most people on our team are certainly a lot better at the things that I try to do. That's for sure. Last question for you, if that's okay. You talked about getting strangers to tell you that it's a good idea, and that's a really good practice. Now, for those of us who have never done it before, maybe we're going into business for the very first time, sounds logical, but what is the difference between the good products and the businesses that you have built and run and the less good ones?
God, people. I mean, and by the way, I am my own problem with Centered, because I got distracted and I should have been closer to my business, leading my people with the passion of what I believe, which is we all need to stop, inhale, and reset. So whatever business I have had, and don't get me wrong, the market's been brutal. The business is not easy. It's never an unbelievable hockey stick, or it's very rarely is. But if we can get the right people in the right seats, communicating well between them, and we have clear goals and targets, and we share an ambition, and actually something I forgot, which is really important, but there's so many things that are important, is if that joint group are rewarded to do what they're meant to be doing, right, and they share in the bigger reward, then the boat goes faster and we have that joint aim. So I would say the businesses that are successful are ones that have passionate leadership and great people. And it's not that simple, but it really ticks some boxes.
This is awesome. I've been on for 4 hours and gotten so much out of everyone today, Lara. And I just want to thank you once again before we wrap up. Someone said you're an inspiration, and I truly agree. That was a superstar presentation. So thank you again. And sorry for the background noise too.
No, I mean, you're really welcome. I have one thing which I'm going to leave with, because I believe
Please.
in actions. And I also believe something that people are too embarrassed to do. And you have to remember that I'm British, right? So we're deeply embarrassed as a nation. We're very nervous about everything. It's rubbish. We like queuing, okay? The Australians don't queue. We spend our lives queuing, right? But actually, my point is this. I'm saying to your sales audience, there's about 100 opportunities for me to sell here. And the point to the ladies listening and the people listening is, you should always be selling, right? So I have a code for you, Blake, which is Flipper20. If you buy by the end of the week, you get 20% off Centered. And my message is, always be armed with selling, because if you're not proud enough to represent and sell your product, who else is going to?
Flipper 20, everyone. Make sure you've got that. We will obviously send that around. Good work there, Lara. There are, there's 100 people online right now, or maybe a bit more than that. And there's a bunch of others who have joined us throughout the day that had to leave a bit early. So we will absolutely be sharing that around. Good work. Thank you so much again. I really do appreciate it. Over to you, Manuela.
Thank you.